Hi, welcome to Call to the News, the Watch It Played news show. My name is of little importance and I have a secret mission I must attend to. Nah, it's Matthew, isn't it? Matthew Jude. Please enjoy the news. We start this week with some rooting, possibly some tooting news. Who could say? The possibilities are endless, but Great Western Trail is getting a new Essential Edition reprint. And it makes sense because while it may be Alexander Pfister's magnus opus, it's already the number 11 ranked game of all time on Board Game Geek. It's also always kind of been known for having, let's call it, a divisive cover. And while some people like the original box art, some people also like cardio, so you know. But not only is Great Western Trail getting a brand new fancy front cover as well as new board and card art, according to Eggertspiel, this new evocative art is all inspired from classic Western films. It's meant to evoke the essence of a romanticised Old West. But the other news is, like every game above it in the top 10 games of all time, it's getting a sequel. Well, apart from Star Wars Rebellion. That doesn't have a sequel, which is a shame because everybody loves a Star Wars sequel. Announced alongside this new Essential Edition and being released in 2022 and 23 respectively, we have Great Western Trail Argentina and Great Western Trail New Zealand. Classically, of course, neither being in the West, though I guess it's a matter of perspective. It kind of depends where you're standing. Oh, as well as a new edition of the major expansion to the original game, Rails to the North, being released at some point. The two new games in the trilogy are said to have exciting new changes to the gameplay. No idea what that means, but it does sound rather exciting, so expect the new edition of the original out in the late summer. And this episode is made possible in part by the game Keepers of the Questar, a new 1 vs 1 dungeon crawler from Upper Deck. In this game of magic and mayhem, players can be both adventurous and cunning questmasters who design scenarios full of menacing monsters and treacherous traps as they journey to discover the unrivaled treasure known as the Questar. Legend has it that mortal artistry and craftsmanship cannot compare to the stunning beauty of the Questar. It's real pretty. Thus, it's no wonder that competing parties of adventurers have made it their life's mission to undertake the sacred crusade to locate and become the keeper of the Questar. And now's your chance to embark on the journey as well and claim it for yourself. But watch out for hidden dangers lurking within the dungeons you traverse. Can you avoid these perilous pitfalls and become the next keeper of the Questar? Follow the link in this video's description to Upper Deck's website for more information on the game and its release date. On Mars, the grandiose game by Vital Lacerda, based in the year 2037 about the exploits of the first Mars base camp, is a rather apt board game to be thinking about at the moment given the current location of the Perseverance rover. Well, it's getting an expansion. Originally called Surviving Mars, it's now named Alien Invasion and sports a wicked looking box cover by Ian O'Toole. And in Alien Invasion, it looks like things, well, are kind of getting real weird. It's being promoted as a somewhat cooperative expansion with a game narrative spread over 4 chapters and has 4 new ways to play, including 1 versus many, a completely cooperative style game, and even new solo challenges depending on the replayable chapter that you go for. There are new alien meeples, player boards and building markers, as well as 77 new cards and over 100 new tokens. Lots of cool stuff, and the first scenario literally opens with this narrative. Alert! Sensors indicate that aliens are invading the famous Red Planet. Long have conspiracy theorists predicted this. The threat to your mission is too great. You must take action. Or, hear me out. Humanity's had a great run. It's been fun. But it's the aliens' turn to shine now. So on May 13th, you can spring into action when its Kickstarter goes live. Fantasy Flight have announced that their Legends of the Five Rings card game is coming to an end. Under Full-Length Shadow will be the Living Card game's final instalment, bringing with it an end to the game's official organised play events. But while one chapter closes, it seems as though Fantasy Flight are very interested in teasing that it's not the end of the IP, with statements like this one from lead developer Tyler Parrott. "I know this is not the end of Legends of the Five Rings, the card game. It's had a fantastic run, and I believe it still has a bright future." I've never heard him speak. That's my best guess. And the official press release also mentioned that players will discover even more opportunities to interact with the story of the Legends of the Five Rings through other games. So it seems as though, while the Living Card game is coming to an end, they are very interested in keeping the Emerald Empire of Rokugan alive. Because did you hear that when the press release vaguely referenced other possible games that may exist in the future? Diabolical. I've been very excited about the Metal Gear Solid game for as long as I've known about it, which feels like forever at this point, but I think it's since about Gen Con 2019. And not only because I love the IP, specifically Metal Gear Solid 2 for the PlayStation, even if I still have almost no idea what on earth actually happened, because like he's his own dad's twin or something, and there's a massive Gundam to destroy that's like alive or something, or who can say? Video games are weird. Fortunately, news about the board game version is now available. Unfortunately, the news is that the game has been cancelled. The designer Emerson Matsuuchi has now said that in December of last year, IDW Publishing had decided to not proceed with the project, and details are fairly sparse as to what led to IDW terminating the game, but Matsuuchi has reportedly retained the rights to the game's development. He has the rights to the design, but not the IP. And while he seems interested in retaining the IP from Konami, there's no way to know if that's something that will happen. But the design is there, and Matsuuchi is hopeful that a game will be coming out at some point, just most likely without Solid Snake and Meryl and the Colonel, who's then like a robot or something at one point. It's a confusing game for my 10-year-old brain. And I'm beginning to wonder when the confusion will wear off, because I'm in my 30s now and I haven't understood anything since. Fun though. Oh, and speaking of grey foxes, and I think, though you'd have to know the Metal Gear franchise to know what on earth I'm talking about, Grey Fox Games posted this on their Instagram. So something new regarding deception, murder in Hong Kong is coming our way, maybe? Who knows what all this means, but consider me tantalised. And here are two more pieces of video cum board game news. The first is that there's a new Witcher game, Witcher Old World, a 2 to 5 player adventure game that takes place many years before the saga of Geralt, who's the star of the 3 just immensely popular Witcher video games. And you'll be learning from the 5 Witcher schools and using those skills to do Witcher stuff, like completing tasks, fighting monsters, and making difficult moral decisions. Well, kind of ransacking the local population and frequently becoming encumbered. The game being released by Go On Board is currently scheduled for April 2022 and is being crowdfunded this coming May on the very popular Polish Kickstarter competitor Zagram. The other video/board game news is all about Stellaris. And Stellaris is a very highly rated and regarded 4X grand strategy video game developed and published by Paradox Interactive. And the new Stellaris Infinite Legacy, coming from Academy Games, is slated as doing much the same. You'll be designing your own burgeoning starfaring race from dozens of trait cards, customizing your potential by choosing a government type, and choosing from ethic cards that influence how you interact with the galaxy. So you'll be able to create the alien civilization that you want to play. And purportedly, all in 2 hours. Bring on some type of giant space worms that feed on happiness and have an overly complicated judicial system. Or make your own legally distinct Klingons, I guess. I'm incredibly interested in this game. Incredibly. That's why it's getting my Matthew Jude seal of approval. No, that's my utterly fantastic badge. No, that's my wool rust my case badge. You know, just never mind. Hey, before we move on to our last piece of news, what news caught your interest? What news changed your world? That pun might need workshopping. I can accept that. Let us know by emailing us at watchitplayed.tv, because I'd love to talk about it in perhaps the next episode. And finally, Asmodee bought Board Game Arena. Now, Asmodee buying something isn't really anything new. They are an ever-expanding power megalith in the board game industry who recently bought Repos Games a few months ago. But the move to up and buy a whole online gaming platform came with mixed feelings in the Twitterverse, where normally Twitter's such a lovely place to be. But according to Asmodee, Board Game Arena's pricing policies will remain unchanged, and they are still able to create online versions of games from other publishers. But the acquisition will mean more Asmodee titles may be available on the digital platform soon, which opens up the scope to, just so many games. An inordinate amount of games. I think it's most likely that this acquisition has something to do with the fact that due to one reason or that same reason, BGA grew by 600% in 2020. So while the future of the platform is a strange new world, it probably beats the real world. Well, except for the Twitterverse. Reality still kind of wins there. And that's the news. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it so very much. Take care.